Hey there, and welcome to a book launch livecast. I'm Everett O'Keefe, the founder of Ignite Press. And this is a special book launch livecast today because not only is the author an expert at what he does and a super, super nice guy, he just also happens to be a guy I went to high school with. And that should not diminish him in any way, shape, or form, though it might in your eyes. But the truth is that he's a super great guy, and I'm grateful that we've reconnected later in life to do this book. So let me first say this. Here at Ignite Press, we specialize in helping people bring their messages to the world, to publish books that they might that those books might impact the world, but also impact the business of the author. And if you've got a book in mind, a book you've written, an idea for a book, reach out. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about your book and your business and your plans for it. But let us get to the main event, because I want to bring to you Doug Reitz. And Doug is the author of the brand new book launching today, Build, a Blueprint for Constructing Success in Leadership and Life. And Doug is a friend, but please, please, please don't hold that against the poor guy. So Doug, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Everett. It's good to see you, man.
Oh, I tell you, it's just such a kick to be here and watching your book launch today. And it's kind of like watching the election, but early returns. And the early returns look really positive, Doug, got to say.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, why don't we get started this way? Doug, why don't you tell, and by the way, if you're watching this, please feel free to use the chat log, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Use the chat log to say hi, hello, ask a question, cheer Doug on, etc. And I'll do my best to kind of feed those to Doug as we go. So Doug, let's start this way. Tell us a bit about your background.
So born and raised in Fresno, California. We went to high school together, and really stayed here local in the Central Valley. Went to Fresno State, got married. My beautiful wife, Jody. We have two kids, Nolan and Molly. Nolan just got back from deployment. He's in the Army, and Molly's in her senior year at ASU as the captain of the cheer squad. So we have kind of been all over the place. It's been a really wonderful life, a lot of good experiences. Started off in construction in 1991, great company, stayed there for 24 years, and then had the opportunity to make a switch to another smaller construction company. Mark Wilson was retiring, and he was looking for somebody to take over the company. And at that time, it sounded like a wonderful thing for me to do with the philosophy and everything. So ended up purchasing the company from Mark, and I've been here for the last 10 years, and the company has grown, the culture has grown. And that's really the genesis of what this book came from, is just culture and philosophy that we've had here at Mark Wilson.
Well, by the way, I want to point out for everybody, when you say you had an opportunity to go to entertain this with a, quote, smaller company, that there's nothing small about your company. Like, tell people the types of things that you guys build.
We try to keep it pretty diverse. We will do schools, public. We do hospitals, office buildings, churches, a lot of diversity in what we do, both in the public and the private market. And the clients that we work with, I can't say enough, they really have that builder philosophy, which really tied everything together back to the book as well. But our clients, our architects, and our subcontractors are just all wonderful people, and it's a joy to work with them.
I just wanted people to understand that we weren't talking about, a general contractor that builds a couple custom homes a year or something like that. Yep. That you work on a scale that most of us could never ever dream of working, and that also means that you are like the tip of the spear in regards to an organization that has about 4 million details to pay attention to.
Yep.
I sit there and I know that here we are with my team. We think that there are a lot of details in a book,
Mhm.
You know, the words, the layout, the grammar, the punctuation, the cover, the publishing, all of the details of that. And yet I think of the details that go into a school, in building a school, and it blows my mind. It actually terrifies me. So
Well, I'll
it's
jump
all,
ahead and give you this just based on what you said. Building a school is very difficult, and there's a lot of things that go into it. But what we learned, and the reason I wanted to write the book, is building relationships are just as complicated. Building consensus is just as complicated. While this is a book that has some construction stories in it, and it relates directly to construction. If you're going to build a relationship, you have to build a strong foundation first, and then a strong structure, and then the finishes come. It takes a lot of time to build a strong relationship, but the principles of construction and going step by step are the same as when you want to build trust. So those things go hand in hand, and that's why I think the book works so well.
yeah. So let's dive in. Let's dive into the book, because in your book you share a philosophy that you developed certainly before you took pen to paper for this book, and you've been putting it in place, and not just in your company. I've watched you be active in your community, and I mean in the community of builders, but also in your community of friends and
Mhm.
associates and things like that. So let's jump in. Let's talk about that philosophy, your build philosophy, because after all, this book is called The Blueprint for Constructing Success, not in leadership and life, not success in building,
Right.
right? So let's dive into that.
So, about 8 years ago, as I came over to Mark Wilson Construction, I realized that if I was going to take over the company, everybody's always told me, Doug, you need to write your ideas down. That gets things better in your head. So, for a few years, I was just trying to write the ideas, the culture, how I wanted it to go. And about 2 years ago, I went, you know what? I really want a way to. Uh, my boss, my mentor, my friend, Tim Marsh, taught me and several others here that are at Mark Wilson really the philosophy of being a builder. And he never put it down on paper, but it was always something that was around us as we were in meetings, tackling challenges, that type of thing. And I wanted to put it down more as a legacy to what Tim did for all of us and to be able to carry that forward. And the more I got into it, the more I got into the processes and what it really means to be a builder and everything you do every day. It's really aspirational. There is no way to be a builder in everything you do every day because we're human beings and we get frustrated and we get down and we're up and we have successes and failures. But being a builder in everything you do every day really kind of pulls you back to, okay, had a failure there. Let's pick ourselves up. What do I need to build to go forward in the future? And that's the premise of the book. How do you approach challenges when you're not feeling it, when you when you want to give up? What's your go-to and what's your go-to process to work through those challenges so you can be successful? And that's what we're talking about.
All right. You have a chapter in your book where you talk about the dangers of building without leading. And I'd love for you to kind of elaborate on that.
So, um, as some of you know that maybe were even on here or knew me back in the day, I'm a very driven person. Still, am a driven person. But when when you're a leader and you are just driving your people all the way through and you're pulling them through, that's the story that's in that chapter. I had a real low point in my life to where I wanted to get something done. I wanted to be successful, and it was going to be success at all costs. So I was leading, I was doing the right things, but I was not doing the right things for the bigger picture, for the bigger cause, for the team. And I was asked to be removed from a project that I was on. Tim came in, coached me through it as he always did, and I saw a different side. And that was really the time that I saw that you have to be a builder in everything you do. I wasn't building relationships. I wasn't building consensus. I was just driving forward, pulling the team along, saying we're going to get this done. And when leaders are too driven, don't get me wrong, being driven is very good, but without being a builder and building your team to where they can have success and you can have success as a team, not just individually, That's the danger of leading without being a builder.
All right. Well, I want to highlight for everybody that the book is available right now on Amazon. You can pick up the Kindle version. There is actually on a special launch price of 99 cents. It won't be that way for long. So please grab that now. The paperback is also there. And then I want to point out for people that this is a fantastic book for somebody. There are so many applications for this. So don't just get this and hold it tight. Grab an extra copy and give that to somebody. All right, now Doug, as is not uncommon. Hang on just a second, try to get that off the screen. As is not uncommon, um, Malia is always one step ahead of me, and she posed a question here that I thought it would show up on the screen here. And that is, can you touch on your listen, plan, build strategy a bit? This is a mantra that we see repeated throughout the book. Can you kind of walk us through it?
Yep. Initially, it was to actually slow me down. And it serves two purposes. One, whenever you have a challenge, I'll give you the principles. Listen, plan, build means listen is to gather information. So many times as a leader, you want to be driven. You're supposed to know everything that's going on, and you're the one that's supposed to make the call. As a leader, you want to listen and gather as much information and be curious to be able to have other people's perspectives. They may be accurate, they may be inaccurate, but once you have them, it allows you to make a better decision. The next step is to plan. Once you have all that information, get the ideas from your team about the best plan to move forward. And then, and only then, do you jump in and build and take action on that plan. So I'll go back to my issue. I always just want to jump in. Hey, let's get in, let's get it done, driven, let's go. It slows me down and says, hey, Doug, you got to gather some information first, then put a plan together, and then go take action. Now, there are some people out there that are very analytical and they get paralysis by analysis. And this listen, plan, build helps that side of the spectrum as well. It is, if you're having trouble making a decision and wanting to analyze all the details, you gather some information, you put a plan together, and then you build. So it pushes you along a little bit quicker. But the cool thing about the listen, plan, build process, it's very much like the OODA loop, if you've heard of that. It's a loop. Once you take your first step into your plan, continue gathering information, and then adjust your plan and adapt. And you go a little bit further. So it's a very iterative process that allows you to be successful and not jump all the way in with both feet and go, wow, how did we get here? Take a step by step, analyze where you're going. And that's the process that I described in the book.
Do you ever find that that's difficult? I mean, are there times where you're like, okay, I know this needs to be that way. And is it hard then to take the step back and ask your team, what way should it be? How should we do this? When you already are like, I have a vision. I know where it's going. It's going there.
It's very difficult, especially for type A leaders, and you know where you want to go. The funny thing is, when you actually sit there as a driven person and you listen to what other people have to say, there is always something that comes out that you hadn't thought of. Or, yep, thought of that. My initial beliefs were confirmed. Let's move forward. But either way, you're gaining knowledge from other people. And two heads are better than one has been a statement forever. And that's really what this principle is based on. But it is hard to do, yes.
Well, and I think also, right, you're taking advantage of that adage, right, that people support what they create, right? Yep. You're allowing them to create with you. And therefore, more buy-in, hopefully less resistance, all of those things. So, and probably better execution, as well, because they may care more right now that they know if it's not their initiative, at least they were considered in the initiative, right?
Absolutely. So when you look at the people and them supporting an idea, I see it every day. And one of the chapters in the book is about building others. Another one is about building yourself. And then another one is building for a cause bigger than yourself. But you have to build others around you. And Tim did such a great job of doing that for me. I see the result, and as I look back of what he was actually doing that I didn't realize was happening. So to be a mentor, and I'll take the time to make this point. People say there are leaders and managers, and then there are great leaders and great managers. And what this book is based on, the one quality that great leaders and managers all have is being a builder. They want to grow people, they want to expand, they want to see people learn and see people succeed. And that's the idea of being a builder. So if you think back, for whoever's watching this, think back to a great mentor that you had or a great coach. What did they really do? They were building skill, they were building knowledge, they were building confidence in you. And that's why being a builder in everything you do every day is so effective in leadership, in your life and in business.
Well, and I appreciate that. So let's talk about who you built this, who you built. Yeah, that's true. Who'd you build this book for? You know, who'd you have in mind when you wrote this book? Who do you want to impact with it?
Well, it changed. And as you probably know, as many authors have gone through it, I had an idea that, I just want to get some ideas down and I want to put this out there as a legacy for what we had learned and pass that information on to maybe some people here locally in the industry and maybe people at the company. So as the culture goes along for year after year, that base is written down, and that's a guide for them to follow. And I've got to say thank you to Kathy Fayok. She's my book coach. She really opened my eyes to how this philosophy and the process could impact so many more people. So it's really for the construction industry. And then I realized as I finished the book, everyone can be a builder. If you're a lawyer, you're building a case. If you're an insurance broker, you're building safety and security for the community. This philosophy applies to everybody as far as a mindset goes, and also approaching challenges.
Okay. Yeah. So when you sat down, when we first started talking about this book, right, you had some pretty significant ideas. I Kathy has helped in regards to the content of it. You've got a team of people that have worked behind the scenes, right? You've got editors and layout and project managers and stuff like that. And it's funny because it was the slip about who built or about who'd you build the book for, but this is as much a building project as I suppose as anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But it would never have come about despite the team. It would have never have come about without the impetus of you as the creative energy of it, who's like being like, okay, I want to write this. There's a person who's had the idea who decides let's push it forward. And I don't know where I was going with that.
Other great compliment.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting because though you may get a team involved, there still needs to be somebody, right, who's the champion of it.
Yeah.
Or it'll fall on the wayside. It'll get lost in the details or the first speed bump, right? So how does that fold in with your listen, plan, build mentality?
So I'll give you an example because this has really taken on a life of its own. And you talk about somebody taking something and running with it. Yeah, I truly believe in this. And the more I wrote about it, the more I understood it and how much it applied to different areas of the company and my life and everything else. We've got a guy named Eddie that works for us, and he was really struggling at one time. And this story is in the book. I'll give you a brief idea, but it's more to answer your question. We all struggle in life when we don't see a pathway forward. It seems like we're running up against a wall, and we just can't figure out a solution. So quite a while ago, I introduced the listen, plan, build concept to the job site team, and Eddie was the project manager, project administrator at the time. He's a project manager now, and you could see the light go on. This was such a frustrating. It was about an email from a client, and there was a lot of misunderstanding in the email, and it was a little bit upsetting to read the email. So we broke down that email into all the pieces that were said, and we gathered information about all those things. Is it correct? Is it incorrect? Without judging. Now, there was a lot of venting that was going on while we were having this conversation. But in the end, the information got down, we put a plan together for each one, and then we went and built. And the issue was resolved. A lot of it was misunderstandings and communication. So over the last 3 years, Eddie has really taken off, and he's now using that process in his meetings at the job site when they have major issues. And he's a champion of it now. So he's taken the torch and he's running with it next. And when you see something like that and you see the successes, that's really what makes you feel good. It's not about the business. It's not about getting the jobs. It's about seeing your people grow.
So much, so rewarding for you. I'm absolutely sure. So the book again is available on Amazon today, where the Kindle and the paperback are available for you. The Kindle is on that 99-cent launch price. Pick that up, for sure. And grab a paperback too, whether that's for you or as a gift. So now, Doug, if we're not yet done yet, but I figured I ought to ask this question now so that we don't forget. If people want to reach you to talk with you about your book, or to have you come speak to their organization, and because I do want to talk some more about that, how should people reach you?
Email at doug@markwilsonconstruction.com. You can also visit dougreitz.blog. That's where all the information is housed.
Very nice. dougreitz.blog. I'm going to have to write that down here. All right. And pardon the capitalization errors in the chat. So let's talk about this. You have been speaking. I've seen you do some speaking within the construction organization and field. What kind of events have you been speaking at, and where do you see this carrying you?
Well, one of the things that really has driven me to want to pursue this now is over the last 20 years, off and on, I've had the opportunity to teach at Fresno State and doing capstone classes for the seniors, some of it in leadership and ethics, some of it on how to put a proposal together and an estimate and do a presentation. So a lot on getting up and speaking in front of people to where you can sell your job. So that's where it really started. But being a part of the CASH organization, the Coalition for Adequate School Housing, I have been able to speak at their conferences as well as technical trainings up and down the state, whether it's about real construction related items like delivery methods, or the concepts of leadership, ethics, being a builder and everything you do. All of those things have really rounded out in speaking up and down the state of California. And it's been a blast to do.
So let's dive. I want to dive into two things. First is the be a builder in everything you do. It's a phrase that is a phrase you use frequently. Elaborate on that, and then I want to get into the cause component.
Yeah.
So let's talk first. What do you mean by be a builder in everything you do?
When you have the opportunity, everybody's going to hit a challenge, and I know this world right now is so unpredictable, especially in construction, whether it's prices or being able to get materials, staffing, people moving from company to company. Everything is really unpredictable right now. So being a builder in everything you do brings some confidence and predictability back to your life. So as an example, if you run into a challenge that you have a disagreement with a person, the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, what do I need to build? Is there a gap in trust? Do we not know each other that well? Do I need to build a relationship? Maybe it's a gap in knowledge. They have read something that I haven't read, and you can see that in politics right now with social media. There's that gap. So how do you build a bridge, and what does that bridge need to be built out of? Is it a little bit of faith? Is it consensus? Is it knowledge? If you're going to be a builder, and step back and take a look at just a normal job site. You have a load of lumber that shows up and it's raw lumber. A carpenter will take that, look at the plan, cut it into specific lengths, and put it together to where it fits. It's the same thing in building a relationship. What are the raw materials that you need? And every relationship is different and every building is different. So there is no one building that's going to be the same, and that carpenter has to figure out how to put that wood together on every project. So it is with solving a conflict or building a relationship. dig into the details of what the materials are that you need to build that strong foundation to be able to nurture that relationship. That's the idea of being a builder in everything you do every day.
Well, I was just thinking of an example of that. If, let's say, a parent's having a rocky relationship with their teenage child,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you might look at it and go, what are the raw materials that I need? And one of those raw materials might just be time, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just going through your analogy of the carpenter brings in time. Then he's got to cut up the time into the appropriate components. So it's like, well, how are you going to use the time? How are you going to structure the time?
Right.
How are you going to apply the time? But I love that. So you're looking at what do we need to build to correct that situation, whether that's building relationship, trust, knowledge. Very, very good. All right. So we have just a couple minutes left. And one big component in your book, you talk about about having a cause. And I think you phrased it as building for a cause bigger than yourself.
Yep.
And I think that's part of the organization you were just talking about. So let's talk briefly about why a cause is important.
Well, it really hit me at one of our ribbon cuttings, where our project manager was up there, and he had his speech already, and he had been working on it and practicing it. He looks out at the audience, and this building was just a small building for a smaller community that was going to be 2 new kindergarten buildings. And they had all the kindergartners lined up down in the front row. And project manager took his speech out, and I physically watched him from the back of the room look down at all those kids. He watered up his speech, and he spoke directly to those kids. At that moment, he realized, I didn't build this building to say, hey, look at our company, we did a good job, or look at this cool new building and how cool it looks on campus. It was for those kids that were sitting there. And I love that story because I got to watch the light bulb go on, that it's about a cause bigger than yourself. It's not about the structure. It's about who's going to use the structure afterwards. So I told you that to tell you this. When you're building for a cause bigger than yourself, and this is for our company, and this is for anybody else who wants to be a builder. When we finish a hospital, doctors are builders too. They get to build health for the community. If we finish a church, the pastor gets to build faith in the community. And if we build a school, teachers get to build knowledge. You can apply that to any industry all the way across. You are a builder too, because you are touching lives, and maybe some of them you won't even hear from. But I can guarantee you have touched lives, and you have built something in their life that's going to take them forward. And that's being a builder in everything you do.
Just fantastic. I in that example you gave of your project manager in the school, I imagine I'm just imagining the speech was probably written for the customer, right? The speech was probably written for the school board, or or maybe even the parents, or I don't know, but it was, and to then shelve that and go, no, who are we really doing this for? It's these kids. Like that's really powerful. Well, Doug, I'm excited about your book. I just to let a little bit of cat out of the bag. When I look on Amazon and I see your book above Stephen Covey and above Simon Sinek, I know we struck a chord, and that's fantastic, and that's what I'm seeing right now.
I appreciate it. I really do.
Congratulations to you on this. So
can I throw out a quick thank you?
Sure.
Okay. So one, to you and Malia and Zelda, I had no idea what I was doing here. I never thought I would write a book. I'm just a dumb old general contractor. But the process that you took me through and the process Kathy took me through made it so easy. And you guys really sparked something in me to want to make this better. So I have to say thank you for that. And then I also have to say thank you to my family. Going through writing a book for 2 years, my wife, Jody, she read the book, she came back, and I was talking about ideas all the time. So I was putting her through the ringer. Both the kids read the book and gave feedback. Aya was a big, she's an architect that we work with, good friend of mine that all the time bouncing ideas off. So for all the people that gave me feedback and told me I should do things different and make things better, I can't thank you enough. This has been a wonderful ride and a great experience. And I really appreciate all the help.
Well, I tell you, Doug, you've been a joy to work with. You are just, you've always been this super kind, friendly guy. You've always been a friend to everybody, and that comes across in your book. It comes across in just working with you here, and we're grateful for you very much, Doug. In fact, that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about your launch today. All right. Well, and everybody, if you want to reach Doug, then first go buy his book. You can get it on Amazon, and his email is in the chat log, and you can grab that there. I'll put it in there again. And if we can be a resource for you to help you get a book out to the world, and to help you impact the lives of others, then please reach out to us at ignitepress.us. at ignitepress.us, and there you can schedule a consultation directly with me if you like. All right, well, thank you, and take care, and God bless.